Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Smoke Signals with Sosa, the place where we seek out the world's strongest, most intense, pepperiest, hard-hittingest cigars the industry has to offer, and I smoke them and see if they live up to the hype. Today, we're going to be smoking the 601 La Bomba Independence Day, which is a limited release that came out for the 4th of July. It's supposed to be full-bodied, and, you know, Espinosa is usually known for having a stronger cigar. It's made by AJ Fernandez in the San Lotano factory. AJ is also known for having some peppery bite in some of his cigars, so I'm really excited. Let's just get right to it, right? Nice little footband, red, white, and blue. It's got the bomb for La Bomba that La Bomba is known for, right? Some of the, they reworked the La Bomba 1 in the re-release and the 11. Those came in the bomb-shaped, almost like a jar kind of box tin thing. Oh, it's not a tin, but you know what I mean. A lot of their other bombas came in a box shaped like that same bomb. This one here, that is on the back of this band. It's very reminiscent of the bullets that would fly in Super Mario Brothers on different levels. As you can see, it's a gloomy, wet, chilly, windy day here in Sosa land, and just doing things a little different. Got the hair down, didn't shave, don't care. All right. Whatever. It's Monday. I'm gonna go ahead and take this footband off, and we'll give this thing a cut and a light. All right. If it doesn't want to peel, I'm gonna try and pull it. So I did get this cigar roughly for the 4th of July. And for a plethora of reasons, I was not able to film most of the summer, so I just kind of didn't, right? But here we are today, and we're just gonna, like I said last week, I find myself with more time. And so I am going to try and post as many videos as possible, record as many videos as possible, because it's what I wanna do, right? I love you guys for watching. I do enjoy smoking cigars. I love what we do together. So we're gonna get as much of that done as possible. This band, I can tell you right now, already does not want to cooperate. It's giving me a hard time to come off. It's ripping. I'm not a fan of that. So it's not a band I guess I'm gonna be able to keep. It's already all kinds of messed up. Whatever. Hopefully it doesn't get too windy. And doesn't mess up the microphone or anything. I have one of those poofy things I could put over it, like a wind protector or whatever, but who wants to do that? Epic fail. I should have had my lighter and cutter out, but whatever. C'est la vie. We are looking at a box press. I think it's a 6.5 by 52. I guess that would be a Toro. It is an Ecuadorian broadleaf binder. It has this nice rustic, dark look, nice and veiny. Looks promising, nice Maduro color. Where's the camera? I can't see because I'm doing that thing with our hands that everybody does. Nice little foot there. Ecuadorian Maduro broadleaf binder. Wrapper. The binders and fillers are all from Nicaragua. Mostly leather there on the foot. There's a little bit of spicy sensation in the back on the cold draw, mostly leather also on that, so let's see what happens. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Monday. I hope you get to smoke some great cigars, whether this morning, later today, or this evening. As per usual, I am on my balcony, so I apologize for any of the random things that happen behind me or around me. It smells fantastic. Nice little slight sting right on the retro, right from initial light up. I like that. Great smoke production. On the palate right now, there's some pepper. Nothing crazy, but it's on the back of the tongue, reaching the top of the throat here, where they both meet. Mostly nuances of wood, maybe a little char. My hand was itchy. I'm very superstitious, so you scratch the palm, put it in your pocket. On the retro there, we have some nice spice, nothing too stingy. It's lingering though, it lasts, it's still sitting right here. Scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it for me personally, probably between a 2 and 3. Still mostly wood. On the profile of the retro, that finish though is very long. I can still taste those charred woody notes on my palate. The band did some damage there to the wrapper, but nothing too crazy. So burn line's a little wonky. We'll see if it fixes itself. It's getting windy. The camera stand is shaking. Gotcha. You almost fell. No, that was a good one. That was a good one. There was a lot of sting there. Sits right here in the nose. I feel like I welled up a little bit with tears. That's a good sting. Probably a solid 6. That was a good sting. I let the entire retro out almost, except for that last little bit, right out of my nose. And solid sting. Solid sting. A little bit of tears here. I'm definitely wet. Nothing rolling down yet, but man, off to a good start. Almost makes me wish I would have smoked it when it first came out, right? Because it's October. So it's been sitting in my humidor for a couple months. Again, I had a lot of things going on, and I still have things going on, but one thing I have now more than I had before is time, right? And I love what we do. I love smoking cigars. I love reviewing them and giving you guys my opinion. And so I'm jumping full throttle right back into the hobby. I've got a plethora of cigars that need to be smoked anyway, and who better to share them with than with y'all? The palate right now, still mostly wood. There's that charred note that isn't charred wood, it's accompanying the wood. Almost like a charred coffee, but it has nuances in the back like anise. Not a whole lot of pepper on the tongue, but in that retro, man, there was. Let's try that again. I almost accidentally inhaled some. This is my Amazon package. Woo! I almost inhaled some just now, and that could have been bad. I would have got a different set of tears. The pepper sting on the retro has calmed down. Still probably sitting between a 3 and a 4. On the nose, I'm mostly getting wood. There's not a whole lot of other notes that I can pick up there. The finish is still pretty long, man, on the mouth. It's sitting on the back of my tongue. Again, that charred coffee bean or even like an anise itself, like the anise itself, the star, like almost if that was charred and torched, you're getting that kind of burnt flavor with whispers of that anise flavor. For those of you that don't know, that's kind of like licorice, black licoricey, anisette, sambuca if you drink. But yeah, the ash is a little flaky, grayish black, hardly any white. The burn line isn't exactly perfect, but that happens sometimes with a box press. But it's not completely awry. It's staying pretty well together, and so I don't think it'll give me too much of a burn problem. But we'll see as we go. All right, that one was a little bit softer. Not much char, not as much char. Almost getting sweeter. I'm getting like that nice tobacco flavor. But we'll see what happens. I'm gonna continue on. It's a beautiful wrapper too. I mean, it's rustic. It feels rough, a little rough on the hand, but it has the potential, if you let it sit for a while, to probably get real toothy. It's got a little bit of toothiness now, but it probably would get real toothy in about a year or two if you just let it sit. Anyway, I'm gonna smoke this past the first third. We'll come back and talk about it some more. See you in a bit. You know, of all the bad ideas I've ever had in my life, this is probably one of the worst. Let me fix this here. So, while you were gone, there goes garbage truck. I decided, I'm gonna make another cup of coffee. That cup got cold real quick because it's kind of really chilly out here, a little misty in the air, windy, like I said before. And I thought, let me take this time, run in real quick, jump on the Keurig, I'll make a hot coffee and whatever. Well, in the 10 seconds that I went inside, the wind blew the camera stand over, knocked the little side table here over. My ashtray, thank God, hit the fence but didn't fall. It's not broken or chipped or anything. My lighter fell, so I had to run downstairs and get to that. And I guess I must have hit the wrong button on the brewer there, because this cup is cold. Stupid Keurig also makes iced coffee, so I must have hit the wrong button. And also, in my rush to rescue everything, when I heard everything fall over, I put the cigar in my mouth and ran out here. And the wind blew my hair because it was hitting from behind me, and I burned some. I smelled it immediately. We're off to a horrible start, but whatever. Perseverance. Nothing's gonna stop me. Anyway, we're out of the first third. We're coming into the second third. If you can see here, I don't know if you can see, it's coming to a little bit of a point, which means there's a decent amount of Ligero in there, because I believe the Ligero burns slower than the other tobaccos. It's softer, for sure. Still a little bit of that charred flavor on the palate, not as much. There's some nuances of like dark roasted coffee or espresso, without any sugar. And that's not because I'm drinking coffee. It was there. There's still a little bit of that wood, not so much char, but a little char, right? It's accompanying it, not as present as it was in the beginning. The retro, no real sting. Now we're down to about a 1. You can feel a little bit here, but nothing nuts. There's more of that charred flavor note on the retro than there is on the palate. So far it's okay, a little linear. I wish that sting would have lingered a little more. The ash does not stay on for more than about 3/4 of an inch without falling by itself. I discovered that twice already, once in here, out here, and once inside while I was making coffee. I didn't want to leave it out here because it was windy, and I'm glad I didn't, because everything got blown over. But c'est la vie. good amount of smoke production. I'm very happy with that. It's a soft box press, so it's not like super tight. It feels like a looser roll. It's not real loose, but it's not like really tight. It's real soft in the middle here. A little bit softer than a cork, right? A lot of times you just want it to feel like a cork with a little give, but also some resistance, but not too stiff. That's what she said. Did she? No. But a lot of times when I do this, I don't dry box, right? Because even though my need one is, both of them are set to roughly 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and I keep the RH in there, the relative humidity, about the same, right? Sometimes, well, in the need ones, I leave it about 66. In the desktop humidors, of which I have a few, 9 to be exact, those I will keep closer to 62 and 64. The relative temperature in my apartment is always between, in the summertime, I keep it about 69 just because I'm a child. All of you said it. 69. And in the winter, because I have tropical plants inside, I keep it no higher than 74 on the really bitter cold days, but usually around 72. And I know some of you are going to say, but the Beatles. But remember that my RH is low. It's 62 to 64, right? It's at 72 and higher with RH as well as with high temperatures that you risk any beetles. But also, I believe in today's day and age, most companies do flash freeze the cigars before they ship them out, which usually kills any beetle larva that might be on the tobacco. It wants to do it again. Off my pen. Cigar is pretty good. I'm glad I didn't buy a box. There wasn't anything overly glorious about the box. Sometimes I am, especially with LEs, if it has a really cool box, especially if the box is numbered. I believe they only made 2,500 boxes of 10 of this. So that's what, 2,500? Two more, 250,000 cigars, if I did my math correctly. Just adding 2 zeros. So a lot of times, and it's not, they weren't super expensive. So if a box of 10 is roughly under $200, I'm more likely to jump on it. A lot of times, I just want the LE, right, to collect. Sometimes I'll let it rest. I don't know if you remember, around this time last year, we did a review on the God of Fire Series B broadleaf, which I did buy a box. I bought a box of tubos, which is only 8, and I left them in the humidor this whole time. So at some point, we will revisit that and see how the extra year of age did. But sometimes there are cigars that I truly enjoy that others might not, but I don't care about you. It's about what I like, right? And you should be the same way. We've talked about this before. You like what you like. Don't let other people influence what you smoke. Take a recommendation, try it. But take any recommendation, whether good or bad, any opinion, whether good or bad, with a grain of salt. Because what my palate likes, yours might not. That being said, the EP Carrillo Pledge of Allegiance is a box that I try to get every year, right? This year I didn't get the Rockets, I just got the Toros. I couldn't find the Rockets, or I would have got the Rockets and not the Toros because they were more limited. There was only 249 boxes of those made. I did get the box of Solomon's the year before that, and there was only 248 of those made, boxes of 10. And so, but those are numbered. And so even if I don't open the box, especially if I don't open the box, they're numbered. So that makes them even more limited, right? So I'm glad I didn't get these. This was an American flag box, pretty cool, but nothing super special, nothing spectacular. And so far the cigar is exactly the same. It was really good for a moment. Maybe it'll get better in a little while. But as of right now, fairly linear and underwhelming. Still a little bit of char on the back of the throat. Dark roast coffee or really dark espresso on the palate. The finish is long. And I would put that in all caps, long. The retro, we'll just do it one more time. Same. A lot of that dark roasted coffee, it's getting more misty and rainy now. A lot of that dark roasted coffee, a little bit of a sting here. I wouldn't put it past the 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. So, yeah, here we are. This is supposed to be full-bodied. It was for that one brief moment when I teared, but since then, nothing to write home about. So, I'll finish this second third. We'll come back at the start of the final third, and we'll talk about it. And per usual, after that, we'll come back at the nub, and I'll give you my final thoughts. See you in a minute. Welcome back. So, we're getting into the final third. Still the same. The only thing that changed was this here cup of coffee, because I just couldn't do the cold coffee. I took another 2 sips and I was like, this is trash. Don't like it. Whatever. Nothing another pod couldn't fix. I'm not quite bored. I'm more disappointed. In the second third, the char kind of went up and down, fluctuating, ramping, or whatever, however you want to say it. It would become more present, kind of whisper back. Tobacco notes are there. The char note, what I hate is that sometimes it goes from that charred coffee or dark roast espresso to just burnt. Hate it. You ever leave like just a little bit of coffee in a pot on the warmer and it starts to burn, and then you pour yourself a little bit and you take a sip and you're like, ugh, that's what I'm getting mostly. The finish is quite long too, which only makes that feel worse. Here comes the wind. So, not a huge fan. Shame. Sting on the retro is maybe a 1. That one just now, again, a little bit right here. Nothing really punchy. Nothing at all like we started, right? We started off with that, well, it's windy. We started off with that one moment where I was like, this could be a tearjerker if this keeps going, right? We teared up that one time and then, So, I don't know. I'm gonna smoke it just because we're reviewing it. I'm gonna continue going on down all as far as I can, right? Once we get past the final third. I don't know that I'll nub it. Right now, it's almost acrid on the back of the throat, right? It's almost like bitter. So, not a fan. Gimmicky cigar. Probably would have been great for the 4th of July. Barbecue, charcoal, wood fire, bourbon, beer. Probably would have been great. It's been okay with the coffee. The coffee kind of takes away some of that burnt flavor and still cleanses the palate without, altering my taste buds. I quit drinking, so we know I wasn't going to pair it with any alcohol, but excuse me. I can see that it would have been well, from my past experience with alcohol, it would have went well with a bourbon or even a rye, right? Something that has more spice would bring out some other notes, maybe more of that anise, maybe more of that tobacco. Maybe something sweeter would bring out some other notes, Sometimes when you pair, you can go either same, or you can go the opposite direction, bring out some opposite notes. But as for me right now, it's just me. Whatever. It had its moments in the beginning that were good, and then And I like AJ's stuff. I'm not a huge fanboy of AJ, but a lot of times cigars I find AJ makes, right? Like we talked about in the last episode about the Tabernacle line, some of the foundation cigars that he makes. AJ makes a few other cigars for other people that are pretty good. I find that he makes a lot of cigars that I didn't know he made. But this one's not a winner. Man, there's a lot of char on the tongue. I don't know. I almost just want to put it down and say this one's not for me. But I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up. I'm going to smoke it through. And there's very little that tells me this is going to get any better from here to the end, right? So far, it's been a lot more of the same, very linear. It's just that char that goes up and down, which is disappointing also, maybe because it's an Ecuadorian broadleaf. A broadleaf a lot of times for me in cigars that I like, even the Night Commander, which is a foundation cigar. It's a Tabernacle cigar. The Night Commander is made by AJ. It has sometimes, you know, a lot more of those chocolate notes or dark earthy notes. Sometimes, and maybe it's not the wrapper. Maybe it's part of the filler. Sometimes you almost get those stone fruity raisin or something going on that is quite inviting. In a lot of Maduros that have broadleaf, I find though that they have those chocolate notes or those earthy notes. This one is lacking. C'est la vie, again, whatever. I wish I had more to say. You know? It's not awful. Again, you know, if I was eating barbecue, or if I just ate a barbecue brisket, something that left my palate sweet and tangy, right? Maybe that was part of the blending. Because it is the 4th of July cigar, maybe that's part of the blending. Maybe the blend is not only what's in the cigar, but also they thought of what you would be doing, or we would be doing that holiday, or around that time, right? It's summertime, peak summertime. There's a lot of cold beer, and there's a lot of barbecue food, or, you know, burgers and dogs cooked on a grill with charcoal, you know? Probably goes great with all those flavors. I wouldn't know because I'm not doing any of that today. And as per usual, every time I do one of these reviews, I do it on an empty stomach. Just because I want to get the full effect of the tobacco, the nicotine, and the flavors. I don't want to do anything to my palate that's going to alter it. So black coffee is usually a nice palate cleanser, right? I think it's the pH level in the coffee or whatever cleans your palate. I don't know. It's science. But yeah, I'm quite bored. I'm a little disappointed because we started off so well. And then we got to a point where it was just and it's continued to be that plateau of meh ever since. So I'm gonna push through this final third, and then we'll talk about it at the nub. Be back in a minute. Welcome back. I gotta say, man, that final third became a chore. I'm coming out of it pretty much at the nub. You can take a look. And it has developed in flavors. And by that I mean it has become absolutely awful. I am not a fan of the way this ended. It just became char. It just became burnt. It just became bitter. And I hate it. So let's talk about it, my final thoughts, right? Ugh. Char. Bitter char. Nuances of char. Whispers of char in the background with just burnt sprinkled on top of that. On the retro, this is awful. The retro is less awful. Still a tiny sting throughout the retro at the very end of the nostrils or the top of the nostrils. depending on which way you're measuring. Less awful on the retro. But I mean, unless you're gonna retro every single fucking puff of this cigar, which I wouldn't, and just avoid your palate altogether, there's still whispers of char. And I guess the faintest calling of anise still in the background, right? Something that isn't burned, but is also charred. So, not my favorite. I'm gonna go ahead and put this down and say it's not for me. For the sake of what we do here, I'm gonna give it no peppers, except for at the initial beginning of the light. There was a little bit, and then that one moment where it was almost a tearjerker. It did bring tears to my eyes, but they never fell. It just kind of welled me up with tears, almost because of the shock, which I think we said was a 6 out of 10 as far as the sting goes, which was nice, but it fell off from there. We had a moment where the charred flavors were starting to turn to a tobacco taste that had the potential to get a little sweeter, but then never did. Those broadleaf flavors that we know and love never came to the forefront. And so it gets no peppers, it gets no tearjerker. I got no hiccups. It's not a belly buster. There wasn't a whole lot of nicotine in it. At the very end of the nub there, you could see it wanted to canoe a little. Tunnel a little. So it was a loose roll. Great smoke production. It just tasted awful. Skip it. And I don't know, maybe get one. Maybe you like the taste of burnt dog shit sprinkled with fucking coffee. I don't know what you like. Try it, I guess. If you want to try one, I would try one. I would recommend eating something sweet or having something sweet with it, as is the way I did it, on an empty stomach, an empty palate, and with only coffee to accompany it. Do not recommend. Not for me. Gonna skip it. I'm gonna eat something now, though, just to get the flavors off my tongue. Or I might just switch from coffee to Sunny D, because God, I love Sunny D. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate you taking the time. Love you guys and ladies. Have a great day. Have a great Monday. Hopefully it's not this wherever you are. And if it is, let's make the best of it. I'm gonna find something to do with the rest of my day before my son comes home from school, and then I'll just focus on him so I don't have to taste this anymore. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.